This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys
Get this win. I don't know, Jack. It's a big decision.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying space.
Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
Thank you. I thought I was right. So anyway,
Yeah, Mac, you're really interested in these playoffs.
so
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
thank you, Rick, for letting me know that I am on mute. I keep doing that. This is the second day in a row that I've done that. I normally get that going right away. I have my music that, of course, I play, and then I forget to unmute me. So thank you, Rick. Good morning to you. Glad that you're aboard, Rick, and Keith will be up in a little bit. So I was talking about Cleveland and Boston, and as I was saying while I was muted, which makes me sound even better. Thanks, Rick. Everybody was talking about that the Boston Celtics were pretty much had an easy road all the way to the finals, right? They weren't talking about Cleveland. They were going to stomp the Knicks and stomp Indiana, according to Charles Barkley. And Cleveland kind of put it on them yesterday, right? Last night they controlled the inside game as they do, Donovan Mitchell. What do you have? 33 points. Mobley, the big inside presence, with 17 points and 13 rebounds. Of course, Jaylen Brown with 30 points for the Celtics. And you're going to have to beat Cleveland. Cleveland's a very physical team. One game at a time, as they say. One series at a time. Boston is not a big presence inside besides Tatum. You would think it would be bigger with Porzingis, but he's not really physical down underneath. He's more a finesse guy. He gets you some rebounds. He shoots from the outside, and he's going to have to play a lot better inside if they're going to beat Cleveland in the series, and we'll see if they can do that or not. I would take nothing for granted. So the other game, Dallas 117, OKC 95. Kyrie with 20 points, and he has been having a very good year, a good playoff series. And Jonich. There we go. He got hurt again, and he's going to be playing hurt the whole series so far. And Jokic is their main cog in that big machine over there in Dallas. So Jokic ended up with 19 points, and Keith is popping in. So we'll kind of cover what we did before with a different angle. Get it, Keith? Angle, different angle. Well, anyway, here it goes. Keith shaking his head in the background. Good morning, Keith. How you doing?
How we doing, Mac?
I'm doing all right. Jack's still on assignment. That's what I'm calling it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so he's got some stuff he has to take care of, some serious stuff. So that's why he's not, and hopefully be back.
Hopefully everything's okay with Jack.
Yes. So Keith, I was talking about how I read a bunch of articles how Boston was gonna, was looking for a challenger, and that they were already talking about the next series, and not, and of course that wasn't Boston, that was people like Charles Barkley and
right.
Other commentary out there, and of course Cleveland comes in, they got a good inside game. Boston, I don't think is as physical as Cleveland is. I mean, Tatum gets some rebounds. Porzingis, I think, will have to play a lot better inside to kind of counter Cleveland's board work with, of course, Mobley, and you got Mitchell who can drive and shoot. So they beat Boston last night. It's tied 1-1, Keith. I think Boston ends up winning the series, but I don't think it's as easy as people thought.
Well, it certainly won't be, especially when you're going to lose by 20-plus points at home. Those are games you shouldn't be giving away. And if you're going to lose them, they should be much closer. Donovan Mitchell played very well, as he has been for a while. Maybe the Cavaliers might match up better with the Celtics than we think. And you can't look ahead, as you said. A lot of people have got them, I guess, including myself, because I'm looking forward to a Boston Knicks series. I'm looking ahead twice, right? I really shouldn't give any of these series away, especially given the Knicks situation right now. But you still got to go out and play these games, and the Celtics, should know better from their own history here, recent history. Don't do that, or you come back and bite you.
Yeah, no doubt. And in the other series, Dallas ties the score. The series at 1-1. They beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 117-95. Kyrie, who's had a good year, a good series, led the scores with 20 points. You got Jonovic. I don't know why I can't say that this morning. I have no idea.
All the time.
he gets hurt again. He's kind of playing. He's not playing as well as he would be if he was injury free. He had a little help off the bench. With Gafford, who played pretty well for him, matching Jovic as far as points go. Anyway, so it's one apiece there. It's anybody's game. I still like OKC, especially with Jovic being hurt.
I do, especially with that situation. Plus, OKC is one of those teams, we've talked a little bit about the young talent in the league that's not getting showcased, on Team USA and whatnot. And this is one of those teams that's full of young talent, and they've really matured this year. They started last year to kind of pull it together, and this year they have put it together. This is their first loss in the playoffs. So, first round sweep was very impressive. In fact, I guess both them and the Timberwolves were impressive with first round sweeps, and it cost Frank Vogel his job in Phoenix, right. Probably not surprisingly. Mavericks, again, I'm not sure they're deep enough. If Doncic is going to be hurt, then I think maybe this team could be in trouble for sure.
Yeah, I do too, and I guess you'd have maybe a matchup if things go the way I think between Oklahoma City and the Timberwolves, which again I think the Timberwolves are going to the finals, but we'll see what happens.
Nice game by former Nick Tim Hardaway Jr. last night too. You mentioned the bench help. Tim Hardaway Jr. had who don't hear a lot about these days. Right. Came out for 19 last night. So, again, a good win on the road in the playoffs is always good. So
yes, I agree. A little college sports. I read a couple items yesterday. The millionaire coaches like Chip Kelly. They're kind of preaching against the NIL, and of course Jim Kelly moved to LSU to make more money, to get his, he has a nice.
Be clear, Brian Kelly.
Yes, Brian Kelly. Sorry, but anyway, he well, they're brothers, I think. I'm not sure, but anyway, he moves to LSU, gets a mansion, brand new car, everything that happens to a player when they're in NIL, and you can't be preaching if you're doing the same thing, Keith. It's just it's ironic to me.
No, it's unfortunate. I mean, had a very, and I'm still not happy with the situation, but I've had to soften. I've talked about this a lot the last year, that I've had to soften my stance on NAL and transfer portal stuff, because the coaches don't set any example. There's nothing to hold them anywhere. They sign a 10-year contract. They could be gone. They could get fired too, but there's huge buyouts. They have no loyalty to these kids or to the universities. Why would the kids have any or expect to have any loyalty or to the coaches or the universities themselves? And Brian Kelly is a perfect example. There was also rumors that Brian Kelly was sniffing around the Michigan job after Jim Harbaugh left, after 2 years at LSU. So, yeah, Brian Kelly and his ilk have got to be quiet when the next big payday comes along. They're going to jump on it as fast as possible.
Yeah, Danielson's another one, head coach at Boise State. He's saying that if any new freshman tries to get some NIL money, he's in trouble. He's not going to have a good relationship with them. Blah 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 blah. And here's another coach again. He's making as much money as he can from moving from. And I imagine if there's a school out there looking for a new coach to make more money, he's going to jump on that train too.
Yeah, they all will. I mean, it's crazy. And in today's environment, the problem with the situation is, if you don't buy into the way the game is played today with NIL and transfer portal as a coach, you're going to fail. Clemson's a perfect example. I mean, again, they've had good seasons. They haven't had what we expect out of Clemson from the last decade, because Dabo Swinney will not engage, at least not on any great level, in the transfer portal or NIL. He can't control all the NIL stuff, but he won't really go after these big transfers like other kids are. Yeah. And if you aren't going to play on the same level landscape with the Georgias, and Georgia can say all they want. The Georgia fans say we don't get involved. Well, they got some big transfers coming in this year. So Kirby Smart's another guy who very quietly takes advantage of the transfer portal while kind of poo-pooing it a little bit. You can't have it both ways. But Dabo's going to be in trouble himself if he doesn't. Either something's got to change with the rules, which probably isn't going to happen, right?
No, it's going to be worse, Keith. It's going to be more open.
Yeah. So either he's going to have to do that, or he'll likely be moving on in the next several years, because Clemson will not be able to get where they were the last decade.
Well, you bring that up, and I was reading another article where the NCAA has taken more restrictions off new recruits after it approved a blanket waiver allowing schools to host unlimited official visits in the men's and women's basketball. Of course, we're talking basketball right now, but yeah. I guess it's the same for football. They can host as many students as they feel necessary, and this is going to end up being more player movement in the transportal.
So they keep doing this, right? You already said it's funny because it's when we already had a blanket. We don't care what you do whatever you want. And then we have to put less restrictions on top of pretty much blanket, do whatever you want. That's kind of doubling down. But they do all this stuff, and then they still go to Congress crying for help. But you do nothing to police it yourself. And it's an ugly situation.
It sure is, Keith, and it's going to get uglier. And as you said, and as I said, there's going to be a union involved, and there's going to be contracts involved. And
UAB, there's always, I can't remember the name of the organization now, but there is an organization now that is recruiting programs to join it. UAB was the first one. University of Alabama at Birmingham was the first one to join, I know, this week, so that these programs would be able to collectively bargain with the NCAA or whoever they're going to end up arguing with when the NCAA goes out of existence itself. So we've already started down that road of unionizing and, collective bargaining, which in a weird way, Mac, collective bargaining may help the situation a little bit because it could put some structure in place to keep this a little bit under control. I mean, it's never going to go away, and it's never going to be what we want it to be. But at least it might put some semblance of of control in place, I guess. So you can't just take $5 million from this school this year and $10 million from this school next year and keep on going down the road for.
Yeah.
Some of these kids find a way to stay in school for 7 or 8 years too. Besides,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You think the NCAA is going on, the side of the portal and the players so that it can stay afloat, Keith? You think they're trying to maybe, this is the way that NCAA stays relevant?
I think a lot of stuff has happened in the last 6 months for that very purpose. The NCAA is teetering on oblivion itself as an organization. And I think that they've kowtowed to the SEC and the Big Ten in ways. I think they've kowtowed to the players a bit. And then they chase around silly things around the country, silly violations. Because what's a violation now anyway? I mean, how can you really chase the programs around for violating anything except stealing signals, I guess? But
yeah, that's it.
But I think they've done a lot of this to try to stay in some relevance. And unfortunately, it's going to happen in basketball. One of the best things in sports is the NCAA tournament, and that is in danger of having to expand to 96 just to cater to the SEC and the Big Ten so they don't pull out and have their own tournament. Yeah. So one of the best things in college basketball or in sports is March Madness, right? It's going to change in the next couple of years just because for it to continue, it has to change.
Yeah, it's a shame. You get to the NBA playoffs, some other stuff. Anunoby with a strained hamstring. I think he probably doesn't play for the rest of the series. I guess they'll want to rest him, which means McBride would have to come up off the bench and start. And he's been good when he's had his chances. He scored 29 points one game, a little different than OB1, where he's an outside shooter. He's not as physical, but he can be deadly from the outside, Keith. So, I don't know if they're going to run out of players before they get to the Celtics. I mean, they may have to go with 4-man teams. I don't know what's going to happen here.
They already went in shorthanded, right? Obviously, and we knew that. And then they lost Mitchell, and they've lost OG. I've decided to say OG from now on because it's much easier. He was having his best game as a Knick the other night. He's really played well in these playoffs. And defensively, this really hurts the Knicks a lot. I think even more so on the offensive side. They'll find points. As you said, they'll probably put McBride in to start in the backcourt. And they'll probably move Hart to power forward, which again he plays all over. He said the other night, he says, "It doesn't matter where I play. I know I'm playing 48 minutes anyway." So, because that kid, he's been a workhorse. He's played 48 minutes, I think, every game for like 6 games now.
Yeah.
And he's been a big key. Look at Knicks have had a great attitude of just next man up, and it's worked so far. I think it won't hurt him in this series because I don't think the Pacers are that strong inside anyway, and they get away with Hart at power forward. I don't know that that's going to work if they run up against the Celtics later on. Hopefully OG can get healthy and either contribute in this series. As long as you're in control of it, I wouldn't rush him back and risk making it worse.
Agree.
They were talking about he had cramps the other night when he came off the floor, and I'm like, that's not a cramp. Something serious happened here. And it's unfortunate because he's been hurt a lot. They're 20. What I see the other day, Mac, they're like 28-7 or something in the games he plays since they got him.
Yeah.
They're a really good basketball team in general. They're a great basketball team when he plays.
That's very true. It's very true. And that Villanova connection, I would expect that maybe some other teams may try to copy this, because every league's a copy league, where if you have kids that play together in college, they have that chemistry, and when they're playing in the pros, it kind of spills over. I wouldn't be surprised to see other teams trying to put together former players from college to see if they can get to that magic too. But I'll tell you right now, between Brunson, Hart, and DiVincenzo, they've been. It's like back at Villanova again when they won the championship.
It's funny because I read an article last week that Hart and DiVincenzo hated each other in college. They couldn't stand each other, and that's not the case now. Obviously, that's years ago. They were kids, and jealousies come into play, but these guys do play great together. You know, it's fun to watch about this Knicks team, and in these playoffs, I've seen a lot of it. People have talked about the things devolved into a one-on-one thing, but the ball movement, and I know it ends up in a three a lot of times, but it's an open three, and it's a lot like. Again, it's different basketball, and I hate to compare the two, but you remember the Knicks in the 70s when they won 2 championships. The ball movement was amazing. You do see that kind of ball movement with this team. There's a lot of layups and short jump shots, and also wide open threes for DiVincenzo to hit and Brunson to hit. And I love the way this team plays, and they get after it every night. And how you can't like this, I don't know. I know there's a lot of things not to like about the NBA, and I've been there the last decade. I like this team a lot, and I like the way they approach the game.
Yeah, and you know, over the next couple of years, and I think free agents will come here as long as you're winning. Free agents will come to your team, and I think they're going to get nothing but better over the next couple of years, Keith. So
the Knicks haven't had that guy. You know why they've never brought in the huge big free agent, because I don't think there's ever been a guy some people are saying I want to go play with that guy.
Right,
the guys want to come play with Brunson.
Right,
so,
right.
That may change this offseason, maybe.
So on the other side of the coin, Indiana, the coach got kicked out at the end of the game. I think that was from the former game. It really wasn't for that game. But, you know, I mean, it's too little too late for me. I mean, you know, they sent 29 plays to the NBA about how the Knicks have done what they've done and all. And to me, the Indiana Pacers, the players said it right. They got to play better. They got to match the Knicks' intensity. Good luck with that. And they got to hustle more. And the Knicks are just killing them on the boards. And we don't have Randall in there right now that would be doing most of this dirty work. You know, we have Hartenstein. We have, our guards are crashing the boards. And that's what it takes to beat the Knicks. And I don't think Indiana can do it.
No, I don't either. And I like Carlisle. I always liked him with Dallas and when he won a championship there. But, you know, this is just sour grapes. You know, small market biases. You know, stop with the conspiracy theory crap. Yeah. It's enough already. You know, you mentioned Hartenstein. To go back to the way the Knicks play, what's really impressive, and I hadn't really picked up on it as much before this series, Hartenstein is really good at passing with basketball. I mean, he had 6 or 7 assists the other night. Yeah. He plays great. He's playing great basketball, and he's going to have to, because he's going to have to play a lot of minutes here. They all are.
Right. You got that right.
Going forward.
So I mentioned Barkley already, so I won't really cover that. What he said about the Knicks and the Celtics and all this stuff, because it's a bunch of nonsense. NFL news: Buster Skrine is on the run from Canadian police, accused of skipping bail, not making a appearance in court. I guess he's on money fraud. He owes $100,000, to different banks. I mean, you know, I don't know what guys think, and this is not just football. Eventually they're going to catch you. I mean, you could try to write checks to cover checks. I mean, that's kind of foolish, Keith.
Yeah, prisons are full of criminal masterminds, by the way. These guys should realize very few people get away with this stuff. I mean, they're not, NFL players are not getting away with it, by the way. If you notice, they get arrested right and left. I mean, there are some people that get away with it for years, but even the guys who get away with it for years, professional criminals, they get caught eventually. Sure. Everybody gets caught.
Of course.
And they must all think they're, criminal masterminds. So.
Now, I didn't watch this. Maybe you did. They had a Brady roast where they roasted Tom Brady, and they had Gronk there, Randy Moss, Belichick, and Kraft. Now, Kraft was a sore spot with Tom Brady. You're not going to make fun of Robert Kraft in front of Tom Brady. They're not going to talk about his massages and all that stuff. And there was one comedian that tried to kind of make fun of him, Jeff Ross. And after he started talking, Brady went over to him, spoke to him, and I guess he told him, Robert Kraft is off limits. So I guess so.
Well, I think he came over, and it wasn't anything with any anger. I watched the whole thing, and you could hear what Brady said. All Brady just came and said, "No more of that," is basically what he said. And he said it with a smile, and he knew what he was getting into. Brady was a big part of this whole production, so he knew what was coming for everybody. And there's been a lot of angst, I've seen on social media from Patriot groups that, they should have left Giselle alone, and Aaron Hernandez jokes. It's all classless. And I'm like, it's a gross. What are you going to expect? If you're going to be offended, there's 9,000 other things you can watch. Turn the channel.
Sure.
funny's funny to me. And, some guys, some of it was cringeworthy, but there was a lot of funny stuff. Bill Belichick was very funny in his appearance. So was Gronk, and all those guys took the brunt of jokes. I thought it was funny, and it was entertaining. It was long. It was 3 hours long, which was probably about, at least an hour too long. But
yeah,
some of it was good.
I used to watch a Dean Martin roast on TV way back when.
Yeah.
That was some funny stuff. A weekly show they had where they roasted all the big stars there. But anyway.
Much more risque than the Dean Martin roast, I can tell you now. But,
I would.
It's not for kids or people who are thin-skinned and offended by anything. Just turn the channel.
They can't. They can't do that. So while you're here, I'll get your opinion on the Yankees. They had the Soto, Judge, and Stanton, who I predicted would have hit 30 home runs and maybe driving 80 RBIs, all had home runs for the first time this season. This is, I guess, what they thought they were going to do when they got Soto. Judge just hit a 473-foot home run the next game. The Yankees have the power to get to the World Series. We'll see what happens as far as the pitching goes. Hopefully it gets better and more people get healthy as the year goes along.
The pitching hasn't been awful. I mean, they've imploded. Everybody's imploded at least one game, but overall their numbers are pretty good. My big problem is, again, without home runs, they don't score runs. I mean, every time Stanton, I know we talk about this a lot, but every time Stanton hits a home run, I hear, oh my God, 119 exit velocity, 119 miles an hour exit velocity. I don't care. I care more about his 270 on base percentage than I do the fact that he finally hit a home run after 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's Stanton. That's what we got, man.
Lineup, 3 guys, Mac, under 300 on base percentage. That's not good.
No.
People are all over saying, get Volpe out of the leadoff spot. He's not doing well there. But who are you going to put there? You got a bunch of guys who can't get on base. He's at least getting on base at a 350 clip. And this team, again, I just got a bad feeling that you don't find a way to scrap out runs when you run into good pitchers. There's going to be a problem down the line. I think they'll win a lot of games, but I worry about the big games.
What surprised me, and that surprised me, I didn't think he was going to be good as he was the former Boston Red Sox Verdugo or something. Verdugo. Yeah. He's better in the outfield. Yeah,
he's played pretty good defense. He's been batting cleanup a lot the last week and a half or so, and he's after a slow start, he's coming around at the plate. I wasn't a big fan of the signing at the time, and he's playing well. I would have rather had Bellinger or even the Lee kid that San Francisco signed from Korea. I thought would have been better signings, things that would have kept Judge out of center field day after day. But so far, so good. I like his intensity too. And Boone did come down hard on him. We get on Boone for not coming down hard on players. He told me he had to lose a couple of his chains during the games. He had to. So
I know.
Glad we're taking a hard stance on this stuff.
Big news. He was talking about the difference between the Red Sox and the Yankees. He said the players are more friendlier. The manager's easier to work with. So of course he's that's putting a shadow on Cora over there, who is in his own right a pretty good manager. But Boston looks a little confused right now. They jumped out. I still think that they'll be in the mix for a wild card at the end of the year, but they got to straighten a few things out over there right now.
I picked that team to finish last because I couldn't figure out, and they got a lot of injuries. So good for them that they played this well early in the season with as many injuries as they had to starters who I thought were suspect anyway, the guys that have been replaced. So they're finding a way to do it. And if they can continue to play this way, then they will be a factor.
Yeah. So let's see. Anything else I wanted to go over with you real quick? No, that's about it, Keith. I think I'm good. I get to make fun of the Jet fans after you leave, which is always fun, and their drinking habits at games. So that'll be fun. So
People
Keith Engle,
games.
Yeah, they drinking during the games for some reason. Anyway, Keith Engle will be up at 9:00 right after our show with the who are you interviewing today, Keith?
Brian Holloway, former Patriot offensive lineman, part of the '86 World I'm sorry, not world champions. They got creamed by the Bears, but the Super Bowl team that won the AFC Championship that way that year.
I think any AFC team besides the Dolphins would have got creamed by the Bears in the Super Bowl.
Yes, probably.
Yeah. So anyway, great having you in, Keith. Have a great day and enjoy your Friday and stay out of them. Stay out of those beer places. You got to stay out of there. Anyway.
Well, maybe one stop this weekend, maybe.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Have a good weekend. See you Sunday.
All right, buddy. Yes. All right, folks. So Keith Engle again came in as he does every Friday now from 8:00, and has a big interview over there, as he said, former ex-Patriot offensive lineman Holloway from the 85-86 team. So he was a good player. So let's push on in the NFL right now. As I told you, we got some to talk about the Jets a little bit, and the Jets are not the only team doing this, but it's fun for me to kind of tease any of the Jet fans out there right now. So they're drinking, and the fans there, they have been drinking a lot, I guess, during the season. Let's see. Yes, they're like in one of the top tiers of alcohol drinking as far as fans go. I understand why. I mean, a lot of frustration over there in Jetland, but they're not the top team. In fact, I think Buffalo is even higher, and you've seen some of their drinking games they play there. That Jason Kelsey jumped in too, and jumping on tables and drinking out of certain things. And so anyway, the Jets are not as bad as people say. The Jets did not renew the contract of the special teams coach Leon Washington, who has been there since 2021. They have the 13th ranked special teams. They're right in the middle of the road, so I guess they're looking to improve that. The Patriots are going to be throwing deeper passes this year, as you saw over the last couple of years with Mac Jones. A lot of dink and dunks, a lot of tight ends passing over the middle. They're going to try and change that. They got the quarterbacks to do it. Brissett can throw downfield, as you saw. May, the rookie, can throw deep downfield. And they got a couple other quarterbacks in the room. One kid, I'm trying to think. I think he was from Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a rifle too. So they're going to try and, get the ball down the field faster. A little bit of change from the way it was. Little Eagles news for you. Kenny Gainwell, he's the running back, discussed why the Eagles, crashed last year, blamed the team's connection from the front office down to the team and the head coaching staff to the players. He'll be the second string running back behind Saquon Barkley this year. I imagine the team isn't going to be too happy with these remarks. When you start throwing the front office under the bus, maybe he's trying to get out of there. I don't know, because he's not getting that much playing time unless Barkley gets hurt. So Gainwell has been productive for the Eagles over the past couple of years as a running back. He was a former wide receiver, but we'll see what happens with him this year. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. I talked about with Keith Engle, the Yankees, and the three power hitters they have on the team all went deep once. The first time this year, and Verdugo, he's happy being a Yankee. He's glad he's out of Boston, and of course Boston, he got benched a couple times, and he was failing at the bat. I don't blame Boston. You got to take action on the players if something happens. So they did what they were supposed to do, but with the Yankees, he's played very good right field and bat and cleanup. He's drove in had some good games, so I'm glad we picked him up. Let's see what else do we got here. A little bit of hockey. Of course, I gave you the scores earlier as the Rangers. They have gone up 3-0. The Bruins still in a tough series right now. Let's see here. The Stars playing pretty well too. That's another tough series. So I'm watching these playoffs in hockey. At least the highlights as playoff hockey is some of the best playoff What is that? A good old hockey game. It's a good old hockey game. Anyway, and boxing news. And a lot of people don't know about Boots Ennis unless you follow boxing pretty closely. He's out of Philadelphia. He's a very good fighter. He's undefeated right now. And, of course, boxers don't want to be against tough competition unless they have to. It's not the good old days, folks, right? It's not Ali Frazier. It's not Foreman Ali. It's not nothing like that. It's not, Durant and, Hagler. And that's changed a bunch. They're going to fight people that they feel they can beat. And that's how it goes today. And that's why there's a lot of people that don't like boxing anymore. They'd rather fight against somebody they feel they could beat than someone that might beat them. And that's what's going on with Boots Ennis right now. Spence was going to fight him. He's not going to do that anymore. There's a southpaw number 2 rated Glavny Santatilian, 32-0. Who is looking for an easier fighter right now. And that's the problem when you're that good, right? And you don't have that many people there. Maybe Boots ends up moving up. He's a big guy, very tall. Maybe he moves up to, light middleweight or middleweight and see if he can get any more fights there. But anyway, Boots Ennis is kind of in limbo right now looking for fighters to fight, which is terrible, right? Boxing. Anyway, as I said, Toronto, they lost the head coach after the loss to Bruins. We also have, it's very hard to get to a Stanley Cup. If your coach is putting you in the playoffs 5 years in a row, and there's a lot of reasons why you lose in the Stanley Cups, you go up against a better team, injuries, calls by the refs. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you lose, not necessarily because of the coaching. And we're seeing that a lot of coaches are being let go, even though they're owed a lot of money, and they're still so much successful. And I don't see the reason for this. I mean, you look at the Yankees, and I know we're changing to baseball right now, but Steinbrenner and his GM, they haven't won a World Series in a while now, but they're in the playoffs, and there's something to be said about that. I know the Yankee fans want to win the World Series, but Cashman is not a terrible GM. He's a good GM. He's better than most GMs. So until they find somebody better, they're not going to replace him. And until the Yankees really start stinking like they did, they had a year last year where they had a terrible year. They're not going to replace him. And I think that's good. You got to have some kind of stability. Every time a coach leaves, a new coach comes in with a different philosophy, a different style. And that doesn't always work out. You look at a lot of teams where the coaches keep turning over and they stay in a losing position. Now, this isn't this case. I mean, they got a good team. But I think, I think there's something to be said about having coaches stick around. So anyway, that was something that I noticed. Let's see. Florida flips the script on Boston, evens the series of 1 apiece. It's a very volatile situation in Boston right now. Another great year. Are they going to lose in the playoffs again, or are they going to finally go to that Stanley Cup? The Rangers went up 3-0, another overtime win. I think they're the odds-on favorite to get to the Stanley Cup. And who they match up again in the other conference, I'm not sure of right now. A lot of people thought that the Las Vegas, that they thought they were going to go there. Philly Pags thought that, but they're out now. So listen, I'm just happy the Rangers, the Knicks, and the Yankees are relevant this year. This is a good year from New York. So, folks, today, as I told you, Keith Engle is on after us at 9. We got sports all day, every day here on the Roku channel, on National Streaming Sports. There's how you do it. Just download the free Roku app. Go to the Roku store, channel search for Northeast Streaming Sports, and there you go. You can see us on the big screen. Folks, have a great one. Rick, again, thanks for popping in. Love having you in all the time. This is Mac from the Mac and Jack Sports Show, signing off, and we'll see you tomorrow. I don't know if Jack will be in or not, but at least me and Doc will be there, and we'll be talking about the latest in sports. Have a great Friday. Stay out of trouble, and we'll see you soon.